So, the importance of trusting our desire. So I just finished up a group call, and one of the women on the call was talking about how there are these desires that are emerging for her in her relationship with her partner. Yet when she expresses the desire, there's some pushback. Like she wants to try a certain thing sexually and he's not a yes to it. And what we started to explore in that, hello Genevieve, was what happened within her once she expressed a desire that a person was a no to. Because often what happens is we feel these desires, and the truth is, in our culture, desire has kind of been stigmatized. It's become this thing that we're not really supposed to have, that we're supposed to kind of conceal these aspects of ourselves that feel potentially edgy to express, because the desire for something is also often associated with something that could be perhaps unrealistic, perhaps it could be edgy, perhaps it could be something that feels inappropriate to ask for. And if we wind up communicating this thing, which has a lot of charge around it, because let's face it, we exist in a culture that's really good at inflicting a whole bunch of shame and unworthiness on us, like from the very time we're kind of come out of the womb. So, hi human beings. So, in this courageous practice of speaking a desire to someone and then receiving a no, what can happen is that we wind up personalizing the no. And what I mean by personalizing it is that if we make the request, like let's say, hey, I would love to try having sex with 2 men. And I was speaking to my partner. I don't actually have a primary partner at the, like right now, but let's say I expressed that desire to him and he said no. And he kind of gave me this like what's wrong with you face. If I personalize the desire, then what can happen is that I make something wrong with me. That because I expressed the desire and I received a no, that there's something wrong with the desire in itself, which means that I'm making something wrong with me. And when we start making something wrong with me, with this desire that I have and there's something wrong with me, what occurs is that self-doubt starts to happen in the body. There becomes a lack of trust that can exist in the body when we feel shame for the desires that exist within us. Because if we allow other people to tell us what is right and wrong for us to want, and we don't trust the desires that emerge within us, we start to create a lack of trust with our body, which means that we're not connected to our intuition. We're not in right relationship with our intuition. And being connected with our intuition is one of the most important things that we can be connected to in our life, because our intuition is what guides us. And we live in a world that has given us a very box-like structure of the way that we're supposed to do reality. We actually live in a culture that's really conditioned us to not be connected to our intuition and to have us believe that there's one right way to live. There's one right way to be in relationship. There's one right way to make money, whatever the story is. So that being connected to our intuition actually becomes a dangerous thing, because our intuition is connected with our desire, and our desire might bring up things that don't exactly fall in line with the status quo. Our desires, if we allow them to emerge, might wind up rocking the boat of relationships that we have, jobs that we have. When we allow our desires to emerge, they basically invite us to explore outside of the identity that we have become comfortable with. And that means that we would have to risk exploring, opening up into the unknown. And you see, us human beings, or perhaps the ego inside of us human beings, really likes to feel like we're in control. It really likes to feel like we know what we're doing, we have control over things, we know what's going to happen next, we can predict what's going to happen in our lives, and desire can be very inconvenient. In the words of a teacher of mine, Kasia Urbanach, you actually have no control over your desire. You cannot control what you want. There's no point in feeling shame for what you want, because you can't actually control what it is that you want. You can. What can you do? you can become curious about what is within that desire. What is there for you? Because desires can't be dismantled. True desires cannot be eradicated. They can be suppressed, they can be repressed, they can be hidden, pushed away because we're unwilling to be with the inconvenience of that desire. But the truth is, when we are willing to go in and explore our true desires and to be willing to open up and create space to explore, what is this desire here? What is in here? Because, like I said, my desire was like, oh, I want to have sex with 2 men at once. But then it's the curiosity of, what do I discover about myself in that experience of being with 2 men at once? Like, what, I don't necessarily know what the point of the desire is. I just know that it exists. And when we're connected to our true desire, we can actually utilize its expression as a way of leaning into self-discovery. Aiden is saying, key point, not personalizing a no from others. Wow, opening up, trusting intuition, then helping the other person feel safe with us and our asking. Then they can accept our truth and willingness to explore it for ourselves. Yes, so I'm going to go deeper into this piece, Aiden. So I just opened up enrollment for this 8-week online virtual course called Intimacy by Design. And the whole formula for the course is all about creating relationships that support us in creating our desired reality, experiencing our desired reality, cultivating our self-actualization. And in this course, one of the things that I'm going to be teaching is how do we actually create containers for our relationships, agreements for our relationships, where the point of the relationship is not to win with the other person, not to make the relationship work at all costs, but instead to create a container where each person can more fully embody the truth of who they are. So as Aiden was saying, one way of doing this is learning how to hold space to receive a person's desire, for someone to speak a desire without collapsing into feeling like we're obligated to giving it or needing to shame them because of it. We should be celebrating people in leaning into the courageousness of asking for what it is that we want. Because again, we live in a culture that's shamed us for our desire. It's shamed us for our sexuality. It's shamed us for wanting more. The guiltiness of, why can't we just be happy with what we have? Why do we need more? Why do we need to explore more? What we must be doing is cultivate our ability to stand firmly grounded in our energy, know that we are fully worthy, and that it's the communication of the desire that is the real powerful expression. The win is in the expression of the desire, not whether or not it is actually given. Because through expressing our desire, we tell our body that we know we are worthy of having it. And then we become energetic matches. We become aligned. We become resonant and ready and available and open to receive that desire. Maybe not from the person who we asked it from, but through that willingness to speak the truth and be vulnerable, we come more in alignment with the frequency of that desire. Because everything is vibration, everything is energy. And if we are living in shame for what it is that we want, we actually repel that which we want away from us because we aren't a match for it. So we can actually utilize our relationships, if we are willing to be allies in each other's expansion, as a way to practice coming into resonance with our authentic self, with our exalted expression, with the truth of who we really are. And I love these hearts. So trusting your desire, allowing yourself to create a space where you can actually connect with what your desire is, which means that you may need to start seeking out relationships with people who actually support you in your expansion, support you in your liberation. And for those of you who are desiring that, and whether you're currently in partnership or single, my 8-week online course, Intimacy by Design, is specifically created to be an alchemical container for each person to bring in what are their desires in relationship. How can we create relationships that support me in becoming the most embodied, alive, empowered, brilliant expression of who I am? And how do I do it in connection with another person? So many good things. I'm so glad this is ringing true, Emmett. So I'm going to go for a couple more minutes. If there are any questions, feel free to post them in the comments below. I'm going to riff a little bit longer, and then I'm going to complete. So us being connected to our true desire, not the surface level desires of like, oh, I want to eat 5 pints of ice cream. I keep talking about ice cream because ice cream is what I will often use to check out when I'm avoiding being with a true desire. But when we connect with the one that's like deep down in us, like connected to our belly, connected to our body, connected to our sex, that is the connection point to our intuition. And when we connect to our intuition, all of a sudden we can start opting out of the rat race culture that so many of us are opting out of right now. We're realizing that there are 2 different paradigms that we can exist within. There is victim consciousness, which is the current paradigm of culture, and then there's creator consciousness. And the shift from victim consciousness to creator consciousness is directly related with our ability to connect with our intuition, connect with our inherent desires, connect with our inner guidance system, and realize that we have the power, the capability, and the guidance within us to create it for ourselves. If we are willing to take the risk to step out of the box, out of the comfort zone of what is safe and familiar and really a prison of our own making, and into the unknown. And if we are willing, our desire, our true desire, can lead us there. I am a guide in this work. I am not the only guide. There are others, and I am one of them. And if you feel the desire to be held in a container for connecting to your authentic desire and how to show up fully embodied as that person in your relationships and create relationship, create reality from that place, I invite you to check out my 8-week online course, Intimacy by Design. I'll post a link in the comments below. Let's play together. Let's create together. Carolina is saying, can you name some examples of deep down desires? Yes. Let's see. A lot of the desires that I am seeing being expressed by people are people who have been in monogamous containers. By a container, I mean like a set of agreements, like a monogamous relationship container, who have a desire to explore some form of intimacy outside of the primary relationship. This doesn't even necessarily mean that the person wants to have sex with other people, but they're just acknowledging that there is attraction that exists outside of the primary relationship. But unfortunately, we live in a culture that really shames the acknowledgement of any type of desire or attraction for anyone outside of that primary monogamous partnership. So some of the desires that I see coming up with my clients is a desire to be able to create a way that they can explore intimacy and deepen connection with people outside of the primary relationship without threatening the stability of the relationship. So doing it in such a way where it's honest and it's connected and it can be supportive and pleasurable for both human beings and actually inspires more growth and deeper connection between the partnership. So that's one example, Carolina. Let me know if that lands for you. I'm feeling, oh, there's so much good stuff. What else, folks? Let me know what else you want to talk about. I actually feel like really good right now. Are there any other desires you wish to speak about? Any other questions? I feel good. I'm going to count to 10. And at 10, if there's no more questions, I'm going to sign off. And I hope to see you and play with you. I'll tell you a little bit more about the online course. It's 8 weeks, and they're going to be live video coaching sessions or live video classes. So there's a lot of interaction. There's a lot of play with the community. This is really about exploring expansion and going into deeper relationship with our own desires in a group container and actually moving through a process and looking at what are the stories that we have about who we need to be in relationship and what romantic relationship is meant to look like. And how are those stories around what things should look like preventing you from being able to step out of victim? And by victim, I mean that you're a product of your circumstances. You're at effect. You don't have choice. So when we become clear on what the stories are around who we're supposed to be, we can actually realize that we don't have to identify with those stories. They're just stories that we've been choosing to hold on to, and we actually can let go and create space to design our own roadmap for intimacy. And Intimacy by Design, this 8-week online course open to all genders, all sexual orientations, all current relationship statuses and models, dives into that very thing. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Carolina, I'm so glad that it landed for you. Tom, thank you for tuning in. Again, I'll post a link to the course in the comments below, or you can just visit www.intimacybydesign.com, and I will talk to you soon. Mwah. Oh yeah, share this video if you feel inspired by it. Post comments and questions below so I can know what's alive for you here. Let's spread this. Let's spread this energy. This is good energy to be spreading around the world. Some more of this. Mwah, mwah, mwah.